Shares of AB InBev are up slightly this morning, up about 2% thanks to better than expected earnings. The Bud Light owner beat forecasts with a 7.2% increase in total revenue for the quarter. It was boosted by strong overseas sales in the Asia-Pacific market. But U.S. sales did take a hit thanks to that boycott drama following Bud Light's partnership with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Revenue in North America was down by 10.5%. EBITDA was down by 28%. So obviously a big tumble there. But if you look at earnings in other regions here, overall adjusted earnings were up 5%. Brazil, China, and Colombia saw earnings rise 20%. So this really was a U.S. problem. And I won't say just a U.S. problem because U.S. is a huge market for them. So it's not like it's a small problem, but it was a limited one.
But it is a relatively smaller problem for the overall AB InBev portfolio than perhaps it seems when there is there is weekly data that comes out on how much volumes are down for, the Bud Light portfolio or the Budweiser portfolio is really the way it's phrased in the U.S. because it's about 18% by volume. North America is about 18% of the overall AB InBev worldwide volume. So 9.5% volume growth in its Asia market. So that, overall volumes are down 1.4% in the quarter. So, against last year. So you are still seeing an impact overall there. But there are pieces of the business that I think investors can get themselves excited about, certainly this morning. And, ultimately, when you look at the way the stock has behaved this year, it has been a laggard in a market where everyone's getting excited about everything. And you are able to now maybe say, we can make sense of what is happening in this pocket of the business. We understand why the U.S. business is going to be challenged in all these different ways. But, another part of this, portfolio in this trade is in the U.S., what has been the riser against Bud Light's fall? It's been Modelo. Well, AB InBev doesn't have the U.S. distribution rights, but they do have the rights in Mexico. And so as the Modelo brand on a global basis perhaps picks up some slack from Budweiser and Bud Light and related kind of plays there, they have the international play on that. Constellation gets the U.S. benefit, but internationally, and AB InBev called it out in their call, they are getting some of that lift elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other thing I thought was interesting is they said that the market share losses in the U.S. and Bud Light pretty much stopped at the end of April, that April to June was steady. Mm-hmm. So will they ever get that market share back? Maybe not, but maybe it's also not going to get worse. And you just have this resetting of expectations that have been priced into the stock, to your point.
Yeah, I think there's probably, maybe it's kind of a two-part story now where investors say, all right, I understand what happened here. I can make sense of it as an investor. I can get excited about all those kinds of things. You buy back stock, pay a dividend, et cetera, et cetera. But there's an operational problem maybe where, you had the number one beer in the U.S. and now you'd have the third or fourth, whatever it is. I'm not sure if there's, segment or, we've seen some marketing execs leave. There are going to be ramifications, I think, at the corporate level. But for an investor story for a stock that's down 6% when the S&P is up 20% basically so far this year, that impact perhaps has maybe been felt, to the most extreme event for investors. And then the fallout will kind of come elsewhere in the business.
Right. My random thought of the morning, from a marketing perspective, how do you decide if you're going with LIGHT or LITE, a la Bud Light versus Miller Lite? I don't know the answer to that.
That's been baked for a long time.
Yeah,
so
it has.
Ask someone from the 60s or whatever when they made that decision.
Okay, I'll do that.